Hello and welcome to the second day of World Archery's Elite Coaching Seminar 2020. Now, you'll remember back in late October, our first session covered themes like recurve tuning, the basics of compound technique, data analytics, and the role coaches play in anti-doping. We're going to be building on those sessions over the course of today with more in-depth lectures from some renowned archery experts. Before we get started, you should have all received a link to an on-demand session from World Archery's former education director, Pascal Colmer. We urge you to take a look at that at some point, perhaps over the lunch break, if you haven't watched the video already, because Pascal will be joining us later today for our live Q&A session, along with all the other lecturers. So on to the schedule. Today's seminar is split into three parts. This morning's session includes a lecture from Filippo Clini on the pre-draw and how the early stages of a shot routine affect the result. And that talk is very much recurve focused. We'll then move on to a presentation from the developers behind the new Ringding video arrow spotting device. It's in depth and looks at what coaches can gain from the analytics on offer. After lunch in the second session, we'll cover safeguarding in archery and what coaches must know about protecting athletes' well-being. Before we'll finish the lectures with George Tekmitchov and his tips and tricks for compound tuning. Now that presentation is very accessible. There's some great information in there, even if your expertise is more recurve based. And like last time, we'll finish everything with a Q&A session. You can send your questions to info@archery.sport or you can post them in the chat and we'll select some to go to the panel later on today. So without further ado, let's get on with the lectures. First up, it's Filippo Clini and a deep look at shot setup.
Hi, I'm Filippo Clini and welcome to the Online Elite Coaching Seminar 2020. I will talk with you about the recurve shooting sequence and how, especially in the first steps, it will affect the final result in a positive or in a negative way regarding the position, the muscular use and the timing. And now let's move into the presentation. Okay, let's go in. Let's go to see how the first steps of this routine can affect the shot in a positive or in a negative way. The macro steps of the sequence are the setup, the pre-draw, the anchor and the follow-through. This is not connected with the technique, but those steps are in all the archers. Everybody has to respect these steps. Let's go to see the first. The setup is for everybody the starting point, is where the archer will set the foundation of the shot. Is composed by many little steps. The first one is the feet stance, the second one is the string hand, the bow hand, the body balance, and the head position. Let's go to see the first one, the feet stance. Let's go for the first thing we have to know is that the feet are a sense organ with billions of receptors and sensors on skin, tendons, and inside the joints. And they process external and internal inputs continuously, providing balance to all the body. And this happens during the shot, during the day, walking, running, and in every moment of the day. Let's go to analyze what happens changing the feet stance in the shot. In the first example, I would like to analyze what I call the random position. Is a bit open, but with not a good control of the steps of the feet. Sorry. The both feet are positioned in a random, and if you don't mark them into the ground, it's not easy to make them in the same position every time. Now let's put three lines. The first one is the shoulder line, the green one. The second one is the hips line, is the red one, and the fit line is the yellow one. We will have the shoulder alignment, of course, because the archer from above, especially in this level, is like a triangle and is looking inside the position. This is a right-hand archer. Because of the position that is a bit open, as we can see with the feet stance, we have also the hips that they are a bit open. But due to this, as you can see, the right foot in this case, but in any case is the foot that is behind the line, is a bit open compared with the shooting line. And due to this, during the draw, during the action, we will lose the hips control, and the line of the hips will rotate, become inconsistent. And this rotation will be different shot by shot and arrow by arrow because of the position. If we set a wrong position or an inconsistent position, we will have an inconsistent alignment. And the forces will be used in a different way in every arrow. Let's go to see the second one. It's exactly the same, but in this case we have the right foot that is parallel to the shooting line. And in this case we increase a lot, and we will see afterward in a video, the possibility to maintain the hips line a bit open, creating a bit of power zone into the body. Now, let's go to analyze the third one. The third one is an open position with the feet stance parallel. The feet are parallel in this position. And in this case, we will create a block into the heel, into the knee, and into the hip, and this will create a big possibility to maintain the hips line open. And if the hips line is open, we will maintain a more consistent power zone into the abs during the wall shot and during the draw. The fourth one is the most used one, is with the feet parallel to the line, and at 90 degrees, the feet line is at 90 degrees with the shooting line. And I think that the two positions with the parallel feet are the most consistent and easy to repeat, even if you don't mark in the grass or in the ground anyway, the position of the feet. Now let's go to see a small video. In the first in the first arrow, we will see that the archer is drawing with a random position. The first one we saw on the left. Let's go. We can see that the hips are rotating, but closing now in the second, closing a bit, something changed. Now, maybe if you don't see in the video, we can see them in the picture. This is the picture at full draw into the first draw, and this is the picture in the second one. The difference is only in the foot, in the right one. And as we can see, the hips line, it is more open in the second one. And this is because we create a block into the heel, into the knee, and into the hip. Now let's move into the string hand. The string hand is super important, and I think that many coaches and many athletes, they think that it has to be relaxed. I think not, because we have to maintain the power of the bow, the power of the string that is increasing during the draw for all the shot. And as you can see, this is not a super relaxed hand, even if it's a hand of a super athlete, because it's Kibo Bear hand. Now, let's go to see. First thing, we have to put the string into the first joint. The first joint coming from outside in all three fingers is the best position that you can use to put the string, because it will give to you the less possibility to create problems like calluses or blister in the fingers. That is not a good thing for an archer to have them. A very important thing to look, and especially in the picture that you see on the right, is to create an angle of 90 degrees between the line of the dorsal side and the first part on the index. More is close to 90 degrees, better we will maintain the force of the bow, because we will be in a biomechanical advantage comparing with the force of the string that is trying to closing us toward the bow. In the other picture, we can see that the nails are totally visible and they are looking at the arm guard. Looks that the hand the fingers are close around the string, maintaining the position of the string into the first joint. Another important thing is that the thumb and the pinky has to be relaxed. The pinky and especially the thumb has to be relaxed, because when we are at full draw, if the thumb is tense, we will affect the joint of the wrist. If the thumb is tense, the wrist cannot be relaxed. Well, resume a bit. Let's go with the string into the first joint, turn around just to put the nails in front of the string, squeeze the string a bit to create a 90 degrees angle into the index, and extend the dorsal side in order to maintain it flat. After this operation, we can relax the thumb and the pinky, but especially the thumb. And in this way, we will create a super strong position of the hand, and we will be in biomechanical advantage comparing with the force of the string. Now let's move into the bow hand. The bow hand has to support the bow, of course, but it has to maintain the bow in the direction of the target, because if it is not relaxed, we can torque the riser and it will jump not straight at the release. The bow hand is not super relaxed. The bow hand is what I call an active relax, because it has to maintain that shape during the whole shot and during the exit of the bow that is jumping at around 150 km/h out of our hand. Now let's go to see a picture, and as we can see that the thumb is relaxed but is pointing at the target, because it's very important that the thumb is oriented toward the target, because it will give us another tool to better align the shoulders during the shot. Let's see another important bow hand, and we can see here that, for example, we have a thumb that is a bit more extended. But anyway, the extension of the thumb is because the hand has to maintain the direction toward the target, giving it also to the shoulders. Now, this is my hand, it's not a champion hand. Just to explain you, what is with the line, with the yellow line now, is what I call the lifeline. Is the line that divides our palm into two sides, thenar and hypothenar. Is the line that allows to us to close the thumb against the other fingers. And if we look at the hand, this part, the part where you see yes now, is the part that we have to use connecting with the grip. And because this part is always flat, the better idea is to have a flat grip. But anyway, we'll go to see the grip a bit further. We don't have to pass the lifeline, because if we have a bit of tension, we will be against the grip with the other part of the hand, and the possibility to increase the torsion of the riser or to press under would be very high. Let's get to see another important point of view. I think that this is written in all the books of archery technique. The bow hand has to be around 45 degrees. And now we have the two finalists of the last Olympic Games. And in both cases, we have a 45-degree hand into the grip, into the bow grip. This is very important because if we turn a bit out, we have more power into the forearm to maintain the position of the bow toward the target. And the bow hand will be more relaxed. Let's go to see the bow grip. This is a Hoyt grip. Is flat, as you can see, and is just a bit tilted toward the thumb. And why? Why all the grips are tilted inside? They say inside, toward in the side of the button, because the position of this is not, if we go in with the alignment, is not flat, but is tilted inside. And because the grip has to help us in order to better align and to use the biomechanics, a bow grip with these three different, is the same grip, but with three different shapes. The first one, the blue one, is to have a sharp angle, just to feel it on the lifeline. The second is to be tilted a bit inside, just to have a better alignment of the shoulder. And the third one is to be flat in order to push in the direction of the target. I think this is one of the best grip that you can find, and even if you personalize the grip, many archers personalize the grip, but they maintain this kind of shape. This is another grip from Gray Archery, is almost the same idea, to have a bit tilted in and sharp angle, to have the feeling and the flat body, to have the feeling to push toward the target during the shot. Now let's go to talk about the body balance. At this point, now the archer has already set up everything and is ready to move, because the feet are set, the arrow is on the bow, and the hands are set. Now, because the archer pays attention to many details, now it's time to activate the core and to raise up the head looking at the target, and we will see later the reason why. The core muscles are so important for the balance. If you want to increase the balance, make abs. Work for a good body. Because if everything is more well trained, your body balance will increase. But we have also to activate it. And we can activate it making a bit of retroflexion. On the left, you see anteroversion, and on the right side, you see the retroversion of the pelvis. To retrovert the pelvis, we need to activate the core muscle and the abs. If we activate, we will retrovert a bit the pelvis bones, and we will create a bigger power zone. But pay attention, this has to be a light activation, not that much, because if we put together a light retroversion plus a good fit position, we will block some lines and we will create a power zone without any effort, or with less effort anyway. A big help can come from the breath. Exhaling a bit can help a lot to activate the core, to make a retroflexion of the pelvis, and to keep the shoulders low with the trapezius relaxed. This is a crucial point, because if you will use the breath just to put out the air in order to retrovert a bit the pelvis, activating the core, and at the same time relaxing the trapezius, you will be ready to move to the second point, that is the pre-draw. But there is another important point, the head position. Many archers, after they finish to set up everything, they lift up together hands and head. I think this is one of the worst error that they can do. Because if you don't look at the target before, you will have some problems, because the eye movement will affect the body movements. And what it means, that steady eyes means steady body. We are never steady, but if we finish to set up and we raise up our head and we activate the core and we maintain a solid position, we will have more chances to maintain that position till the end of the action. Okay. Now, let's move into the pre-draw. Pre-draw is the moment where the archer builds the line and the angles he will to have in the final position. Is a second moment where the archer continues to create fundamentals. And this is the reason why the first two steps, macro steps of the sequence, because sequence can be split in hundreds of points if we want, but I think that the setup and the pre-draw are the two most important moments where the archer can create and need to create the basics and the fundamental of the shot, giving to the shot the correct alignment, the lines, the angles, and the possibility to create the back tension. The pre-draw is composed by the hand movements, because the archer needs to lift up the hands toward the target, the shoulders alignment, the body angle and the stability, and the side pin in a pre-aim position. Just after the end of the setup, the archer raises the hands. But remember, set the body, set the head, and set your eyes looking at the target before to do this. And both hands has to be moved at the same time and with a constant speed. This is very important, because I see in the shooting lines many archers at all the levels that they move the hands not synchronized or with different speeds. It's very important to move them in the same time and in the same way. Another important thing is the height. Is also very important, especially in the backside, in the drawing side, to maintain the scapula down, and to avoid to raise up the scapula. We don't need to raise a lot the drawing side. If the right hand for the right hand archer will pass the eye line, I think that the position to create the back tension decrease a lot. To create a big back tension, we need to maintain it down. There are many archers that they create a pre-draw passing from up and coming down. This is correct, because we are talking about elite archers. I think it's not correct to teach them from the beginning to do something like that, because it's not easy to divide the two movements, that the first one is to align and the second one is to draw. We need to draw with the drawing scapula down to increase the possibility to have a back tension. Let's go to talk about the shoulders alignment now. At this point, the shoulder must align with the bow arm. The string forearm will naturally align with the arrow. Now, let's make a bit more clear. Now we have an archer that has the hand on the string, and we say that he needs to relax the thumb. If the thumb is relaxed, the wrist is naturally relaxed, because if we lock the thumb, the wrist will be locked. If we finish here in the setup to set everything, at this point the archer lifts up the hand and align the shoulder. And when he finished to align the shoulder line has to be aligned with the string arm, not only the forearm, with the string arm, with all the arm, to be at 180 degrees, because we have to create the best triangle we can in the pre-draw to have it into the final destination that is called anchor. And in the pre-draw, remember that we have to create a triangle. The shoulder alignment is divided in three. First, raise the hand. Second, align the shoulders. And keep the draw wrist relaxed, especially the thumb. This is very important to remember. If we maintain if we relax the thumb at the beginning, and if we recheck it after the alignment, we will maximize the possibility to increase the back tension and to maintain the angles. Let's go to see something into the pictures. Now, this is the movement that the shoulder, when the hands are already at the pre-draw height, needs to do in order to align. That's it. And this will create the best triangle possible for each archer. Not every archer can have the maximum alignment. This is very personal. But I think that one of the job of a coach is to try to align them 100%. In this moment, the archer will only align and we will push just a bit, but not extending or overextending the joint. The joint of the shoulder needs to maintain the position that has normally. I raise up and I align, but I don't push a lot, just to maintain the bow there. This is a normal question that many instructors or coaches or athletes make to me, is how much do I need to open my bow in order to find a correct pre-draw open? And they say it's just enough to align the shoulders. If I raise up my hand and here I try to align the shoulder, of course I need to open a bit the bow. Normally is that the draw hand is in front of the front shoulder. This can be, let me say, a starting point. This is another important thing. During the movement, the archer needs to keep the core activated and the shape that they want, because the body angle needs to be tilted in order to maintain 90 degrees between the spine and the arrow line. If we are shooting at 18 meters, 99% of the time, the spine is vertical and the arrow is parallel to the ground. This is called the T. The T, of course, is between the line of the shoulder and the spine, but there is a T as well between the line of the shoulder, between the spine and the line of the arrow. If we move at 70 meters, we will drop down the sight about from 18 meters to 70 meters is around 6-7 centimeters under, and this means that we have to the arrow has to point up, and we have to adapt the angle of the spine to the distance. Otherwise, the archer will have a bit of trouble to come out of the clicker. And it's very easy to find archers when they pass from indoor to outdoor that they have a problem with the clicker. As well, like the compound needs to adjust the pip height. We have to not to adjust the draw length, but to adjust the T, because if we maintain the T, not only this, but we maintain the T in this way, we will have no changes into the clicker position. I already say that. We have to maintain 90 degrees always, at all the distances. Is what we try to do in the field archery, for example, when we shoot uphill or downhill. we try to tilt the body in order to maintain the T, and we have to maintain the T in every time, in all the distances. And top archers, they also try, many of them, to do this as well in indoor when they change from the top target face to the bottom target face. And especially for tall archers, when they have to shoot down, they need to move as well a bit also the hips in some cases, just to maintain the 90 degrees. Otherwise, the clicker timing becomes very difficult. Here we see into a picture what I mean about the stability and the body angle. 90 degrees is the perfect angle, and here is at 70 meters. This is a picture from the final in Moscow 1.5 years ago, and we can see that the angle is perfect at 90 degrees. Let's go to talk about the pre-aim. This point is not very common to check this kind of situation, but I want to enter a bit into this. At the end of the movement that creates the pre-draw position, the side pin has to pass above the target and has to be positioned above the yellow, so that the force of gravity can be supported afterward during the draw, because during the draw, anyway, the gravity will affect the bow and the body. And it's very easy, if we start aiming at the yellow from the pre-draw, it's very easy that we have to fight against the gravity. And we need to lift up the bow or to adapt the body in order to try to kill that force. Let's go to make an example. Now, on the left, you can see the pre-draw position with the shoulder alignment. And in the right side, you will see the target. This is only an example from the white up. This is very personal. Many archers start from the flag, many archers start from the blue, from the red. This is super personal. But what happens is that during the draw, and as you can see, the string is all the way to the right, in this case because we have a right-hand archer, during the draw, the side will drop down toward the center, is falling into the yellow, and the string is arriving from the right into the side. And of course on the left now the archer is at the full draw position. It's very important that if we know where we set the sight into the pre-draw, we will have the same movement in all the shot during the draw. Now, let's go into the draw. Is the opening of the bow, of course. During this action, the archer must skip everything that has been built in the setup and in the pre-draw. Also because they built a lot of things and we need to maintain them. Now, pay attention, because in this position, in this movement, because this is not a position, it's very easy to lose or change positions, angles, lines, and changing the final position, we will change the muscle engagement. Because at every angle of the body, we change the muscular use. Just to give another example, to maximize the draw and the back tension, the forearm in the drawing side has to be an angle, comparing with the extension of the line of the arrow, has to be an angle that is around from 5 to 10 degrees, more or less. Can arrive to 12, but not that much. Otherwise, if we go too much up, the ring finger will slip out of the string, and this will create damage into the fingers, especially into the third one. And if we change or we lose or we create something that is not what we were, what we set into the pre-draw and into the setup, if we will change some positions, we will change the muscle engagement, and this will be a problem. The draw is composed by the push and pull, of course, needs to be increase a bit more the shoulder alignment, and we need to drive the pin into the yellow. But this doesn't mean that we have and we can actively aim at the target yet. We will actively aim at the target after. Now we need to build the position. This is a crucial point, to push. The front shoulder must always be ahead of the force of the bow. This is a very important thing, because if we lose something, we will need to recover it, and we will increase the muscular tension. Let's go to see something in these pictures. I took 3 reference points into 3 lines of the body, and let's go to see what happens during the draw. As you saw, this archer gains some, I think, 1 centimeter in front. Maybe for the parallax of the picture is not that much, but anyway, he's not using losing the position, is gaining something. If the shoulder collapses, even by 1 millimeter, the archer will be forced to recover the lost draw by varying the biomechanics and, of course, the muscular utilization. If we lose something, we need to recover. And if we need to recover, we go out of the biomechanics. And if we go out of the biomechanics, it's not easy to make this every time the same. And if we don't do it every time the same, the possibility to make something wrong or to make mistakes increases. Of course, if we don't push enough, we will not align the shoulder and we will create stiffness into the muscle of the rotator cuff. Have you ever seen archers that when they release, the front shoulder jumps? I saw them a lot of times, and I saw also many of the good archers that I teach that sometimes this happens. It is when they lose, in 90% of the time, is when they lose the pushing toward the target. If you don't push enough, if you lose just 1 millimeter, you will increase the stiffness, and stiffness, it will explode like a popcorn during the release. The correct idea in the draw for me is to try to gain 1 or 2 millimeters from the pre-draw, where you are not pushing yet. You start to push and pull in order to arrive to the anchor, gaining just a bit, just 1 millimeter. But remember, we don't need to reach 100%, because when we arrived at the end, 100% is the maximum, a maximum extension. What happens is that to maintain that position, we need to be at our 100%. Otherwise, it will come back. It's like if my car it can go at 100 km per hour. If I am already at 100 km per hour, I can only lose. I cannot gain anymore. It's better to maintain 95 in order to have 5 km per hour that we can accelerate during our journey. Let's go to the other side, the pulling side. The string will be pulled in a straight line, and this is very important, we will see afterward, till the contact with the face, from the pre-draw till the anchor. And we will see that anchor is split in different things. A common mistake is to pull in a round shape and reach the anchor from outside to inside, trying to copying some champion technical customization. There are a lot of archers, I think that 80% of them, of the top archers, men and females, is the same, they have they draw from out to in, but not in the last moment. And many archers, especially the club archers, they are copying just to copy paste something that they don't know and that they don't understand, and the risk to create a disaster biomechanically is very easy. Arriving from outside to inside, the possibility to use this biceps instead of the back tension is very high. What it means, if I arrive from here to here and after I try to go inside, the only muscle that is in the body that makes this movement is the biceps. And if I'm here and I need to arrive here, it's not easy to do it with the back tension, because the back tension is a rotation. And if I am already here, I need to squeeze my biceps in order to reach the position. And this will decrease the back tension and increase the stiffness in all the arm and the forearm and so on. I try to explain you better like that. Now, here we have the eye line. This yellow dot connects the eye, passing through the side pin, arriving toward the target. It's just the line of the eye. But if we can see, here we see the string, and the arrow is on the right, comparing with the yellow line. And if the archer will look at the string, he will not see at all the target. The string will be all the way to the right, but the movement of the string has to be direct to the nose, has to be straight to the nose, not going around but coming straight toward the nose to reach the final position of the draw. Okay, now let's talk again about the shoulder alignments. If we push and pull correctly, this will increase the alignment of the shoulder. As I already told before, we never need to reach 100% in order to overextend the joint, especially the shoulder, and into the alignment. Of course, the shoulder we can align and also over-align. I don't want to talk about the over-alignment, because over-alignment means that we have also to intra-rotate the shoulder, creating a disaster in 90% of the archer. And I had an injury for that when I was an archer. But the shoulder alignment, just to give to you numbers, just for example, if the super alignment is just in the follow-through, we will show you afterward. At the follow-through is the perfect alignment. Let's call it 100%. But when I am in anchor, I need to be at 90-95%. We are talking about elite archers, and elite archers mean at the clicker we have to be around from 95 to 98% of the alignment. I mean, it's not the draw length, it's only the alignment. In the pre-draw, they have to set at least 90%. Well, let's repeat. I align into the pre-draw the 90% to reach 95% at the anchor, and to reach, for example, 97 or 90, 98 at the clicker, and 100 at the release. You can decrease a bit these numbers for the club archers. But it's very important that in order to create the back tension and in order to increase, because the archer needs always to expand the position and not to close, never to close, always opening, we need to increase the alignment. This means that the body must be open in both directions, as I told you before, always being ahead of the strength of the bow. The problem is that, for example, also the fingers. Many coaches, many instructors, they continue to say to me when I was an archer, but I already hear this: keep the fingers relaxed. They cannot be relaxed. if you hold the weight, you can't be relaxed. If my bow is 45 pound, 50 pound, for example, I need to put on the fingers the power to maintain that kind of poundage. Because if I start with my fingers that they are super relaxed, while I'm drawing the bow, if the force of the bow is in advantage, I need the string start to open my fingers and my brain start to close the fingers. And we will have archers that when they are here at the full draw, they will have the problem that they, instead to be relaxed like that, they will be something like this to maintain the string, and they don't feel it. Why? Because they continue to think relax, 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 and the brain continue to think keep, keep, keep. And it's a war between the archers and the inhabitant of the brain. I like to joke about that, but it's very important, and it's much more easy if when you start, you take the fingers, you give them the enough power in order to maintain the power till the end. And the same is in all the rest of the body. If my shoulder has the power to maintain the bow toward the target for all the shot, 1 millimeter away from me, it will never collapse. And this is in both direction, of course. Now, to drive the pin into the yellow, the side pin will naturally fall towards the center of the target due to gravity and our work in the direction of the target. Of course, if we will lift the bow will drop and fall to the grass. More we push, less it will come down. Because if we push enough, the gravity will be less. No, gravity is always the same, but we will feel it less, and we will maintain the gap between pre-aim and final aim a bit less. There are archers that they are not pushing enough, and they draw and they drop under the target, and afterward they have to recover, changing all the biomechanics. And this is one of the worst error that they can do. A good important, a nice exercise to understand and to fill this gap is to raise up, aim in the center, close the eyes, and go to anchor. Open the eyes, and of course not once, you have to do it several times. And the first thing is that the side pin has to fall vertically, because if it's not falling vertically, is because we are torquing in some direction, or right or left the bow, and means that we are torquing the body as well. And the second thing is to make the fall of the side pin always with the same amount. For example, if from the yellow I will drop into the black every time, I can start from the black above in order to naturally fall, to let naturally fall the side pin into the center of the target. And this is very, very easy to understand, that this gap is absolutely personal and is connected also with the power of the archer. If the archer are in shape, and if they are shooting nice, if they are shooting well, I think that this will decrease. But when you have archers that they start in the yellow and they remain in the yellow, or maybe from the yellow they have to start maybe under the yellow because they go up, I think that there are some biomechanical mistakes around, especially in the first moment in the setup and in the pre-draw. Okay, now pay attention, because when the archer start to see the target face into the side pin, they start to aim actively. No, we are only drawing. We don't need to actively aim at the target. We need to conclude the position. And now we go to see how. Do you remember this? Now, to do this is not very complicated, but it's not very easy. Also because everything happened in a complicated and fast movement that is called anchor. Anchor maybe is a wrong word to call all this process. Also because anchor, in my mind, give me the idea of something that is steady. Anchor is not a steady moment. Even maybe from outside, a person that doesn't know archery from inside think that is a steady moment. They are aiming. We are not only aiming, we are expanding. And I think that inside the body, this small expansion looks a huge expansion. We are not expanding just 1 or 2 millimeters. We are expanding a lot in our idea, what we feel. And it's a complicated and fast moment. But the goal is to create a solid launch pad for the arrow. Like we have to think about like a rocket. We have to create something steady and solid and firm in order to launch a rocket. It's composed by the contact of the string first, the hand contact under the mandible, the thumb contact against the neck, and the final opening of the position that they call the full anchor. Let's go to see them all. Now, solid contact on the chin and light contact on the nose. Why? The reason is very simple. These two parts of the face has opposite feelings. We will understand here in the chin, we will understand if the string is in the same position if we will press it until the bone. Of course, we will not enter into our chin, but if we press, as you can see in this picture from the Olympic champion, if we press the string against the bone, we will press also the everything we have here, and we will find a solid position. In the nose is the opposite, because in the nose we have the feeling and the sensibility when the string is just touching just nothing the nose. If it's pressing the nose as well as the chin, we will never understand how much is pressing. And this is the reason why it's very important to have a light contact in the nose and a deep and solid contact in the chin. The hand under the mandible. The hand under the mandible has to be solid, has to be a solid contact we need to create, and this is this is a point where we can talk hours. But the problem is that because not all the archers are the same, but in any way we need to create the most possible connection between the hand and the face. But has to be solid but soft enough in order to give the possibility to the hand to slip back, to go back just a bit, because it's not an anchor, it's something that we call anchor, but it's not steady. Another important and crucial point is the thumb against the neck, because this connection gives us the solidity to the final position. The thumb touches and presses the neck, and this is really personal. Most of the archers, they have the thumb that is connected with the neck on this muscle, this big muscle is called sternocleidomastoideus, and we are touching this with the thumb. But other archer, they instead to be like that, they have the thumb like that, and they go back here. This is really personal, but in any case there is a contact. If there is no contact against the neck with the thumb, is a problem. The anchor become weak, become not stable, and this is a crucial point. Now, the final opening of the position, what it means that the archer will conclude the position reaching the head of the point under the clicker and creating the proper back tension. This position in the top archer is when they arrive around 1.5, 2 millimeters from the click. And of course it's personal, but has to maintain all the points that we saw before, especially paying attention at the contact in the face, because many archers, when they reach this position, they go back a bit more of what is needed and they press a lot the nose. We don't need to press the nose. When is finished the position, I think that the idea is to have a mental click. When the position is concluded 100%, we need to have a mental click. And as you can see, many archers, many top archers, even if they don't know, they blink just in this moment. Just it's like to split the sequence in two different parts, because the sequence here finished. Because we finished the position, it's not that the sequence doesn't finish there, but it go in a metamorphosis, it change, because till here the archer is building something, is creating the position, and after is going to shoot the arrow. And I think that a mental click is needed in this moment, because when I reach, I touch my face with the string, I touch the jaw with the hand, I press against the neck with the thumb, and I conclude my back tension, opening the position, and I am at 1 millimeter from the clicker. It's like to have the first click, and I can proceed. In this point, I can start with the active aim. Because I conclude the process to build. I finish to build my position, and when I finish to build my position, if everything is set, I can only actively aim at the clicker, at the target face, expanding the position. And as we already discussed about that, but one of the biggest mistake is to start to aim before to conclude the anchor. This is causing muscular stiffness, timing problems. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that you can see. Many archers, they start to aim just before to reach the anchor, before to touch the face with the string. If everything is okay, actively aiming at the target, the archers will expand the position, maintaining line and angles created during all the actions. It's very important that we will maintain everything, because we create it, and because we create all the steps and all the position of the finger, of the feet and everything, and of the shoulder position and the anchor and so on. Why do we have to think only to aim? We have to give to our body the stability, and when we conclude all the movement, all the position, we can say, okay, now I can actively aim and I can expand over the target. Now, why the expansion has to be so tiny, just 1 or 2 millimeters? From my point of view, 2 millimeters is too much. 1 or maybe less than 1 mil, because this is the most common vision of the archer. A focus target and a blur side pin, and of course a blur string. But the string is, for a right-hand archer, is 90% of the time on the right side of the pin. It can be as well on the left, there is no problem. But I can say many of the archers, they use this kind of solution. If the expansion is just nothing, we can keep this like in the compound, the pip sight is aligned with the scope. We don't have any pip sight, but we have the string that is tangent to the side pin, and or anyway is in a position that we can check and we can control. But if we have to expand more than 2, 3, 4 millimeters, it's very easy that this happens, that we are looking at the target, but the string is going away. And if you ask to the archers, are you sure that the string is there when you are releasing? If they pay attention, sometimes they say, no, I'm not sure. And they start to go left, right, due to that. Because they don't take care about the string. String is part of the aiming. And it can be part of the aiming if the expansion is tiny. If it's not tiny, this is one of the problems that they can experience. Now, let's enter another interesting argument. This is the timing. The timing in the action is not the time of the clicker. Many coaches in many years, they continue to say to me that the timing is the time that is from the aiming to the clicker. No, the timing is the time of the actions that composes the sequence. Then we will go to see them into that. All archers have different times in their actions, but one point in common. Let's go to see in. Now, let's see the sequence again, just to fix it up. We have to set up, we have the pre-draw, we have the string contact, the full anchor. When we finish this, we have an active aim process, and we can go toward the follow-through, going through the expansion, the clicker, and the release. Now, let's go into this. Those are the first 3 steps. I set up, I pre-draw, and I draw till the anchor with the first part of the anchor. Okay? Let's call the movement that the archer has to do from the setup to the pre-draw action number 1. And what do they do? What they do from the pre-draw to the string contact in action number 2. That is action 1, action 2. Now, the ratio between the actions that connects the first 3 steps of the sequence is close to 1 to 1. I repeat it again. The ratio between action 1 from setup to pre-draw and action 2 from pre-draw to the contact of the string is close to 1 to 1. Let's go to analyze. I made this analysis through many archers, and it's not always 1 to 1, but is around 1 to 1. It's like, for example, in golf is 1 to 1/3, the ratio between the backswing and the downswing. In the example on the left, you see Brady, that is, he moved from average from setup to pre-draw in 2.3 seconds, and from pre-draw through to the string contact in 2.3 seconds. Same timing, ratio 1 to 1. Kim Woo-jin on the right, from setup to pre-draw 1.1, is super fast, and from pre-draw to string contact 1.1, and the ratio remains 1 to 1. If you spend 1 second in the first action and 1 second in the second, the ratio is 1 to 1. If you spend 5 seconds in the first and 5 seconds in the second, the ratio remains 1 to 1. And this is very important because, for example, if they, coming back to the previous example, when we see archers that they start to aim before to conclude the anchor, normally action 2 gives a different ratio because, for example, they spend 2 seconds to move from 1 to 2, and they use the same speed, but at the end they slow down the speed because they start to aim, and this increases the ratio. The ratio is not anymore 1 to 1, it changed. You can try to analyze in the archers that you have, and you will have some surprises. Now, let's go to analyze now the second part of the draw. That is what happens between the string contact and the full anchor. This is what I call the sequence in the sequence, is the anchor sequence. Anchor sequence starts from the contact of the string and concludes at the full anchor. And this is called action 3. At least I call it like that. The ratio between action 2 and action 3 is close to 1 to 0.5. For example, in action 3, Brady takes 1.2 seconds. But in action 2 and in action 1 was 2.3. Is more or less 50%, 0.5. And try to analyze. We have a lot of software that give us the possibility to do that, and you will have a lot of surprises in that. Just to come back 1 second, I want to say, let's say something more about this, about the timing. I advise you to start to analyze the first timing, that is between the action 1 and action 2. And you can create also exercises to make for them understandable that they are changing the rhythm, changing the timing, changing the speed. And remember that the ratio between action 1, 2, and 3 has to be something like 1 to 1 to 0.5. Okay. Sorry, I came back to say something for me important, just to be understandable in my strange English, but I think that you understand, and I hope you enjoy this. Okay, the follow-through. What is the follow-through? The follow-through is the last macro step of the sequence, and if it happens after the release, of course, is super important for the result of the shot. The archer has completed to build a position. Is here. Okay, I'm at full draw. Is actively aiming at the target, and it has only just a bit to come out of the clicker. Well, he prepared everything. He arrives here. Is done. First clicker is mental clicker, and actively aim, and they can expand. Now here I like to make a bit of example. I will tell you my example later. They will expand looking for what I told you before, the full alignment of shoulder and arms, because the follow through will be the full alignment. Is our alignment 100% and is like to be attracted by the smell of our favorite cake. This is a joke, of course. It's not something real, but I think that is something that is understandable. This is what I mean. If you look at many top archers, when they conclude the action, they full align the follow through. Like in other sports, follow through exists in many sports, in all the sports with equipment. In tennis, is after you impact the ball, there is the follow through. In golf as well. But if you launch a rock, you have a follow through afterward, and is in the direction of the target. It depends. For example, if you fire with a pistol, it will jump back. It's not going toward the target. You are not going toward the target. But anyway, there is a follow through in all the sports with the equipment. And in archery, because we are the center, we need to be into the center at the release. In the release, we can see when we see the top archer, when they release, they remain in the center. The forces are going toward the target and in the other direction. At the same time, with no jumping, no torque in the position, and everybody is going to align the bones. In the position, in the vision from above that is here in the picture, is very clear that everything is aligned, is 180 degrees. But if you look at in the frontal view, it's the same, because this is wrong and this is correct. The arms remains at the same height of the shoulders, and this is another crucial point of the follow-through. Now, let's make some consideration. If an archer uses light action controls, the result might be with different lines, of course, because if I have light means poor action controls, the possibility to have different lines arrow by arrow increases a lot. Can have, of course, different alignments. It's natural. If I don't care about my controls in the action, I will have differences in all the position and all around in my body, and of course different angles and different muscle use. Because, for example, if you want to work on isometric force, in isometric you will train at a specific angle, but if you change that angle, the power that you and the strength that you gain in this kind of training is not useful for another angle. And archery is a strange game to understand and of course to teach, and it's not very easy to help the top archers, because when we are in anchor, we make a visible movement with the final almost isometric position, and it's not very easy to train and it's not very easy to understand. But we need to use not light action controls but good controls. In the other side, if you use light position control, the result might be some differences in the string hook, some differences in shoulders alignment, or as well in the bow hand, some differences in the contacts. How many times you see that some archers, they are, for example, placing the string in the nose differently, and after they come to us and they say, I don't understand why I'm going to the right. Maybe because of the string. What is the string? And sometimes they answer, in the bow. Yes, it's in the bow, of course. But are you looking at the string? Are you sure that it's always in the same position? And if they are well trained to check that, they come back and they say, yes, it was the string, it was the nose, it was that, because they come back to the sequence. They come back to their position control on their sequence, and they know, if they know what to do, they can recall all the process that they train in the trainings. And of course, in the worst case, we can have differences in the draw length. How many times you experience, or your archer experience, that first arrow, you arrive here and the click never comes. Second arrow, you arrive, you don't touch the nose and the clicker clicks. And when this happens often, is because maybe there is no control in the alignment and in the positions and in all we saw in this presentation. If we think that archery is something that more we shoot, more we understand, I think that you didn't understand correctly what is modern archery. Modern archery is made by small controls, small details that makes everything perfect. Also because now, to shoot, when I was an archer in the national team, I'm talking about 25 years ago, to shoot 660 was a good score. Now, you even pass the cut if you shoot 660. It means that everything is changing. Equipment are better, equipment change, and the biomechanics follow the equipment, and the equipment follow the biomechanics, and is something that is a process of change, and we have to be precise in what we do to create our biomechanical position. Of course, all these controls and checks and everything will affect the aim precision, because if we are not precise, and if we use a different biomechanics and a different angles, different lines, and different positions, what happens? The sight will not be steady. The sight pin remains steady only if our body is working in is not in a standby mode, but is in a safe energy mode because of the biomechanics. It's like when we raise something. If we raise something, like for example the bag of the supermarket, if we raise it along our leg in a vertical position, is not so heavy. But if we lift up laterally at 90 degrees, is super heavy, but the weight remains the same. This is what I call biomechanics. We need to use the biomechanics in order to understand if we are in a less energy consumption mode, and if the sight is firm, means that we are using the biomechanics correctly. Of course, the clicker time, because if I arrive in anchor and one arrow I have 1 millimeters, the second one I have 3 mils, and another one I have 2, and another one I have 4, how can I have the same time in the clicker? Impossible. And if my timing in the motion, in the movement is different, and my ratio is different comparing with in my actions, how can I have the same position? How can I have the same aiming precision? And how can I have the time in the clicker constant? Very difficult. And the release? If I expect to come out the clicker in 3 seconds and it comes out in 1, how is the release? Sometimes it's like a surprise. Oh, and how many times you arrive here, the clicker clicks and you shoot and you didn't realize and you shoot a 10. But sometimes happens the opposite. Maybe because you don't take care about the pre-aim and you don't reach the center naturally, as I explained you, and you release and you shoot a good arrow in the 7 or worst. And of course the result. The result has a problem because if I don't take care about all the stuff that we mentioned, the results are not always lucky, and sometimes we shoot arrow not in the center in the wrong moment, and we will not have our best result. Okay, my last consideration. I like to compare the action with the process of making a cake. I love this. I continue to tell this, and sometimes archers around, they say, no, please, no, don't say it again. Yes, I will continue to say it, because to make a simple cake is very easy, and to shoot an arrow is very easy. But if you don't remember the recipe of the cake, you make disaster. And now let's go to see, what do? You take the ingredients and you weight them all. This is the first thing you have to do. You set up the line to make the cake, and you set up the ingredients. It's like when you take the string. When you make the cake, you take the sugar and you weigh the sugar. How much is 100 grams? 100 grams. You take the string, is 100 grams of fingers. Don't cut the fingers, but just to make this metaphoric system, okay? I mix them together. It's like in archery. I finish to weigh my ingredients in the setup, I mix them together in the pre-draw. Because in the pre-draw I'm moving and I mix them together. And afterward I shape the cake. I prepare the cake ready to go into the oven. And the same thing we have to do with the bow. I weigh my ingredients in the setup, I mix them together in the pre-draw and I shape the cake because I have the shape. When I am in the full anchor position, I am ready, and I start to actively aim in the same moment when I put the cake in the oven. And now, what do you have to do? You have to wait and to smell it until the final taste. In the cake, what happens? Happens just that you wait for, okay, maybe 1 hour in the oven. For us, luckily, it's not 1 hour under the clicker, but the smell of the cake is all around. And when I'm here and I conclude my position, if my setup was perfect, my pre-draw with the whole vision of the pre-draw was perfect, my anchor is perfect, I am already ready to mark a 10 in the scorecard, because the only thing I miss is to go to collect the arrow into the 10, because I conclude is finished, my job is done. Many archers, they think to bake the cake when the cake is in the oven, or to adjust the cake when the cake is in the oven. Many archers, they arrive here and they try to set up something, or they are in the middle of the action and they try to to fix the bow hand. Why don't you fix it before? How can you weigh the ingredients while you are mixing them together? It's not possible. This looks like a stupid example, but I think that simple example drives us to the perfection if we weight the ingredients correctly. That's it. Was a super pleasure for me to share with you all this presentation, and I'm very happy to attend this seminar in this strange moment, and I hope to find you in the field, in reality, and I hope soon, and see you next year. Bye bye.
Thanks for that, Filippo. The early stages of the draw are clearly as important as the latter when teaching technique. Now, don't forget, if you've got any questions on what you've heard so far, send them to info@archery.sport and we'll put the best to our panel at the end of the day. Now, we're going to take a short break so you can grab yourself a drink, but be back at 11 a.m. Central European time in about 5 or so minutes for our next presentation. Welcome back. Next up on our agenda is a presentation from Jochen Hertel, who is behind Archery Analytics and the new Ringding system. He's going to talk about spotting arrows automatically.
Hello everybody, my name is Jochen. I'm the founder of Archery Analytics, and together with my partner and co-founder Patrick, we developed Ringding. We started this development because there was no tool available that recorded our training sessions, that recorded our hits on the target, so that we could use the data for analysis. It was difficult to actually draw conclusions from what impact had this tuning on the bow, what impact had a certain change in the shooting style, and so on. And it was not possible to relate this to the results on the target. Only for a few number of arrows, such as 6 arrows for an end, and we knew that this was not statistically meaningful. So the goal was to record many arrows, overlay them, and then analyze what is the result on the target and relate that back to what we were doing at the shooting line. So this was the goal. Only later we realized that there is an opportunity for automatic scoring also in tournament situations. Last year, in 2019, we were showing our system at that time to the World Archery people, and they realized that this type of system is exactly what they would need for automatic scoring in high-level tournaments as well, because there is a need to produce the results in terms of attractive productions, in terms of video on a screen, showing to the audience what is going on the field, and make the tournaments a much more lively and exciting experience for the spectators. So from that point, when World Archery expressed their interest in such a system, we started a new development, which was a more high-performance system in terms of speed and accuracy, much more than was needed for us for our personal training. This was then leading into the development of what we now call the RD720, which is the high-performance version of our system, whereas for our training sessions we call it RD600. In other sports, such as football, golf or Formula One racing, there is already a tradition and history in measuring, recording and analyzing data in order to improve the performance of the athletes or scouting for new talents. The question then is, why didn't this happen in archery? At least not to a large extent. I think it's a technical problem to record all the arrows at the target without using special target material or sensors and without constructing heavy machines for that. The only solution, in my view, is to use an optical system with cameras that observe the target as is, without the need to introduce special material there. And this is exactly the path we followed when developing Ringding. In the following tutorial, I'll show you how to set up Ringding, calibrate the system, and use it during training sessions. Ringding comes in a lightweight case with a length of less than 1 meter, 95 centimeters, and has got a weight of slightly above 5 kilograms. This is the RD600 system. You can see the 3 cameras. There is a computer built in. This is the accessories. I will show you later what these are for. Everything is held by a massive metal construction. It is important that the cameras are kept at their very distance, very precisely, the angles. So this is massive stainless steel construction. This is the high-performance system RD720 as used by World Archery for tournament scoring. The main difference between RD720 and RD600 is this is a more powerful computer to get more speed. These cameras have got a higher resolution and an individual calibration of the cameras to get the high accuracy we need for the tournaments. Okay, let's start with setting up the system. This is a standard target, and the ringing case is placed 3 meters from the center of the target in this direction. So the center of the target is here, vertically down 3 meters away. Alternatively, if it is a tilt target like that, you can measure the distance also from the bottom edge of the target, and then the distance is 2.85 meters. This is a good number because this is exactly 3 times the length of the ringing case. Okay, I'm placing it now 3 times the length of the case. Here, front of the target, 1, 2, 3, and this is the place for ringing. The accuracy of the distance is good enough for plus minus 5 centimeters. This is the accuracy you should achieve. If you are too close or too far away, the images get a bit unsharp. In order to protect ringing cameras from too much sun, there is a holder for the upper part of the case, so that there is some sun shield available. So these holders are put in here. And this keeps the case open so that the cameras can look towards the target, but the sun is shielded from the cameras. Now we will power on the whole system. Ringding communicates with the Ringding app on your personal device via wireless LAN. This is the wireless LAN router that we ship with Ringding, and this one can be operated completely independent of the power supply. The only thing you need is a USB power pack like this one. Standard USB power pack available at Amazon or your other supplier of your choice. So we connect the wireless LAN router with the USB power pack. That's it. And then we place it, let's say, in the proximity of Ringding. You can go away as far as, let's say, 10 meters or 20 meters in direction of the shooting line if a far reach is required. We have measured outdoor on a green field what the reach of this wireless LAN is, so we achieved 100 meters distance on a green flat field. That's not a problem. So I'll place it now in proximity to Ringding and at a height of 1 to 2 meters slightly above ground. This gives the maximum reach of the wireless LAN. When the wireless LAN is up and running, I'll power on Ringding. Same as with the Wi-Fi router, you can operate it with a power connection to the main supply or completely independent on a green field. Here again I use a power pack and I connect the power cable of Ringding to the USB-C type connector, Type-C connector of the power pack, and this will power Ringding for a whole day. So this is the way how you can use Ringding on any green field out there, wherever you want to use it. After the system has been powered on, I'll use the app on my tablet PC to connect to the system and control it via my tablet PC. Okay, now we are going to connect our app with the Ringding. When you start the app, you will see the page Connections, and if you are connected to the Ringding Wi-Fi network, same as Ringding is, then you will see the available Ringdings in terms of their host number. This one I'm using has got the number 12. So here there's a button called Connect with Ringding 12. I connect that button and you see I'm connected with this device. I can close the connection again and I see some operating parameters of the device, such as the Wi-Fi strength. This gives an indication whether Ringding has a good Wi-Fi connection to the Wi-Fi router. In this case, you see it's perfect. Then we see the CPU temperature of Ringding. If you operate Ringding the whole day in the sun, you will see that this temperature is eventually going up above 50 degrees or even more. I haven't seen a case that actually the RD600 was too hot to operate. So at least in our sun conditions here, Central Europe, there wasn't a problem at no time with the CPU temperature, but you can have a look at the CPU temperature anytime you like. So now we are doing the first step of the calibration procedure, which is called the chessboard calibration. Here you can see the chessboards that are an accessory to Ringding, and these chessboards are pinned to the target so that they are centered. Centered means you put them horizontally aligned, so the upper chessboard is horizontally aligned to the target. Secondly, left and right distance is about the same. And third, the lower chessboard has got a vertical angle here. You see, you can move it around and there are some marks, so vertical aligned is like this. Now the chessboards are centered to the target. The center of the target meets the center of the four squares. Actually, it's not necessary that you use an empty target like here. If there is already a target face, there's no problem. The chessboard calibration will work anyway. The only thing you need to make sure is that these chessboards are flat on the target. So there is no pin underneath or here underneath. That's not good. So the chessboards need to be aligned with the surface of the target. If you don't meet these conditions, like the chessboards are lifted or not in the right angle, this will affect the accuracy of the system. So if the chessboards are flat, the angles are correct, they are centered, you will get a very high accuracy of the position measurement. Now we come to the alignment of Ringding towards the center of the target. That means the cameras need to look at the center. In the app you retrieve the test images with the hair cross, and if you find that the hair cross is not in the center of the target, you can either move the case left and right, so you get the hair cross horizontally in the center, and there are these screws, these adjustable stands, where you can tilt the whole ringing case to get the hair cross vertically into the center of the target. Now I'm going to Calibrations, Test Image, and acquire a test image from the cameras. From this test image you can see that the center of the hair cross, so the center of the camera, is not pointing towards the center of the target as it should be. This means that I should tilt a little bit the case of ringing to the left to get the center here, and use the adjustable stands to make it a bit steeper looking up, so that the center somehow gets here. Okay, getting another test image. Okay, here's the new test image, and as you can see, there is an alignment of the center of the hair cross with the center of the target. You can also see that the squares of the chessboards are somehow within the green squares, which is also an indication that the alignment is good. Now we are going to do the chessboard calibration. We click on the next button, and in the chessboard calibration mask you can select the target size. Here I am just using 130 times 130 centimeters. There is also a switch if you are using 122 target faces on a, let's say, round target like this pressed straw mitt. This would blend out the background, such as trees and leaves, which would be visible otherwise in a rectangular image. But we have a rectangular target, so this is perfect. I press the Do Calibration button, and after a few seconds we will see the result. Here it is. You will see 3 pictures from 3 cameras, all seeing the target from a central perspective, and the chessboards are aligned perfectly as a square. This is called the chessboard calibration, and it serves to provide an identical view for all of the 3 cameras. Now we have done the chessboard calibration step, and we can put on our target face. It is important on windy days that you put enough pins to fix the target face, because if the wind is blowing here and the whole target face is moving, this can disturb the optical arrow detection. After putting on the target face, the next step is to let Ringding automatically recognize what the target face is. You can put on any standard World Archery targets with the colors yellow, red and blue, such as spots, small targets, large targets, and also several of them. The RD720 is able to observe 4 target faces simultaneously and assign the various faces to the different archers, and the RD600 can do this with two target faces simultaneously, for example, two compound spots. So I press next step, target face recognition. There are various options. The standard one is the first, recognize target faces. We have the option for the NFAA field targets. These are the black ones with the white center used in the US. We can use a BEER-MUT to do grouping tests. We can do a walkback test, or we can do trainings without any target face with just a blank target and divide this in various fields so several archers can use the target in parallel. Now I'm going to press the button Recognize Target Faces. And this is the result, the immediate result. You see it was recognized as a 122 centimeter target. The red ring is redrawn by a red line, the blue ring is redrawn by a blue line, and there is a blue frame which defines the area that is being observed for incoming arrows. The status of the calibration can always be retrieved under calibration status. So we have a summary of what we have got. We have a chessboard calibration that is okay. We have a very good quality of the chessboard calibration. We have used the target width and height of 130 centimeters. I have used the backlight compensation switch. There are some switches to optimize the image in difficult light situations, sunlight, backlight, etc. And here are the recognized target faces. We have one, which is a 122 centimeter target face, and it has got the tournament letters A, B, C, D. You know, in tournaments, archers have got a letter, and typically a 122 target face is used by the archers with letters A, B, C, D. Now the whole calibration is completed, and we can start the arrow detection. This is the arrow detection page, which is the most important page actually in the app, because it also serves as a live view. So this would be the view on your tablet or phone next to you at the shooting line. We can start the arrow detection, but there is a warning. No archers has been associated with these target faces. That's correct. We haven't told the system who is going to use this target face. Imagine there are several target faces, not just one. It's important to tell the system which archer is shooting at which target face. So here we have 4 times the same target face for archers A, B, C, D. I'm just going to make a test now, start the arrow detection, and care for the association of archers to faces later. I press the Start Arrow Detection button, and after a few seconds the arrow detection is active, as you can see here, and that's it. So any incoming arrow would immediately be displayed on this live view. One thing I would like to show you now is the quality check. There is a Q button below. I press that one. So we see again what is the calibration quality. Shift of target faces tells you, once you have removed the target face and put a new one on, whether this is at the same position or whether this is a shifted position, and you should repeat the find target step, but this is okay. And here you can see each ring, each colored ring is redrawn by its respective color. So there's a light blue ring, a red ring, a yellow ring, and the black is redrawn by a green line, and you can read the ring calibration quality is perfect. That's important for scoring, because if the system would not have been able to recognize exactly where the target, the border of the color ring is, the scoring would not be perfect. This can happen in certain light conditions. Imagine there is a light reflection spot exactly here and you don't see any color at a certain point, it's just white, a white light spot. Then the ring calibration would have a defect at this point, and the system will tell you that. You would give an indication here that a certain ring calibration was not optimal. You can still use the system, no doubt, and the positions of the arrows will be measured exactly, but the scoring decision, whether it's a 6 or a 7, might be affected by the fact that the ring calibration is not optimal. But this is only important if you really want to know the score of the arrow. The position is always perfect.
Okay, now that's everything calibrated, let's shoot some arrows and see what happens. I found it very useful to put the tablet on a camera stand next to me when shooting at the shooting line, because this provides the same functionality as a scope, or actually. But even it's better than a scope, because when you found your position at the shooting line and you want to maintain your exact position from arrow to arrow, you can have a look at the display without changing your position. The stand is always the same and you have the control where the arrow exactly hits the target. On 70 meters distance, many of you, like me with the glasses, simply cannot see where the arrow is exactly. And this is the purpose of a scope, and this Ringding app acts as a scope as well. It's always fun to look at archers' videos at 1000 frames per second. But the reason why I showed you this is to understand why there is a delay between the arrow hitting the target and the app displaying the result. This is because Ringding waits for the arrow shaft to become stable and quiet. We have seen that the arrows are traveling and wagging quite some time, and depending on how well shot the arrow is, how straight it goes into the target, how deep it goes into the foam, and last but not least, whether it's a dense and tight target such as pressed straw, or whether it's a soft target such as foam. It can vary from 1 second to up to 4 or 5 seconds until the arrow is stable enough to get measured. Now that we have seen the basic functionality of Ringding and the app, now we turn towards the data. So what are we recording? How is the data distributed and stored?
And last but not least, how we can analyze the data and make benefit of this analysis. So the first thing I would like to share with you is an overview how data are recorded and distributed over the network. This is Ringding. It is connected to a wireless LAN network, as you have seen before in the tutorial, and also connected to the wireless LAN network is your device running the Ringding app. But this is not the only possibility for the setup. You can have several devices connected to the same network and the same Ringding, so spectators can also watch what's going on in a tournament, let's say. And Ringding is not the only app that is available. Artemis has also implemented the interface to Ringding, so it's no longer necessary to input all the errors via our fingers on a touch screen. It can read automatically the error positions from Ringding. So thanks to Marcel van Apeldoorn from here. And last but not least, there is also tournament management software such as IANSEO that is using the interface to Ringding, and this is the setup that is being used by the World Archery during the tournaments. And the tournament management software can not only connect to a single Ringding, it can connect to many Ringdings in parallel and manage the whole tournament this way. There are also some developments going on to directly connect displays to Ringding, so without the need of having special software in between controlling a display, a large display for the audience. Ringding can directly feed into displays as well. So this is a scenario that is possible with many clients connected to the same Ringding. So what happens now if an error is detected? First, Ringding reads the error position and all the other parameters related to that, and then distributes this information as soon as the result is there in real time to all connected devices simultaneously. The next thing I would like to talk about is how the data are recorded. First, all error positions and related data are stored inside Ringding as well. There is a special database for that, and all the information is stored there. Second, when information is transmitted to the Ringding app, the app also stores this information in a local database on the phone, on the tablet, etc. So now what happens if, let's say, later a second archer is joining the field or the coach is approaching, asking the archer, okay, how does it go? And connects to the Ringding network. From that point on, of course, the second device will also receive the live data. But what about the previously recorded data of that day? This is why Ringding has got its own database. The app will retrieve also previously recorded arrow positions, and then the databases of both apps are synchronized, showing the same data. So this provides access to the history of data. So I would like to demonstrate this capability using this app on another device. You can see that the locally stored sessions are here ordered and presented day by day, and the latest one that is inside the local database of this app is from 22nd of August. Now I'm going to connect to the Ringding simply by pressing the connector indicator
turning to green means connected. And if we look at the available session dates, they are completely different now. And the latest one is 28th of August. And if we look at the arrows of that day, I have to zoom in to show you here. These are exactly the 3 arrows I have been recording with this Ringding previously using the high-speed video camera. And this shows that being connected, we can access directly the database inside Ringding. So the next point is about data synchronization. This is the setup you have seen before, Ringding and app, and the possibility to access all the data inside the Ringding database or the app database. Now, your app also can access the internet either through a bridge in the wireless LAN network of Ringding or directly using mobile data transmission. And in the internet, there's also Archery Analytics server. And you can have an account there, your own account. And if this is the case, and it's the same as was configured inside the Ringding app, the app will simply synchronize the data up to the server. So all your recorded arrows will also be transferred to your account in the server. This means that you can use even more data analysis capabilities in the server. And secondly, this is also a backup of your data, a secure backup, and you can go back in the history of all recorded data much longer than would be possible locally. Also, if you decide to use a second device, a tablet or a PC, or you have lost your original device, got a new one, install the app. So what about your data? That's easy. The new app, the new device, will simply synchronize with the data stored on the server, meaning that all your devices at the end will have the same data. In summary, your training data will be available at any time on any device, securely stored and backed up. For the following part of the tutorial, we will be focusing on the configuration data. We decided to put those configuration data that have a longer lifetime, such as which bow you are using and which arrows, into the server account. In the app, you would then draw this information from the server and only add specific settings that you are going to change eventually on the training field. Here you can see the start page of the server. I'm already logged in, therefore I can see my data and part called data analysis. We will come to this towards the end of the tutorial, the later part. And here is the material. If I select bows, I see all the bows that I've already configured, a recurve bow, a compound bow, a bare bow, and I can add further bows as needed. I can edit the configuration data. There then you see various sections, general section like the name, the size, draw length, right, left hand, etc. There's a section on the riser, the limbs, the string, plunger, and the sight. I enter the sight section. Here there is an additional interesting information, which is what screws the sight tunnel has got. For example, in the vertical direction, my sight has got 24 threads per inch screw, and it has got 10 clicks per rotation.
Using this information, the app is able to tell you, given a set of arrows and the group center of that arrows, it can tell you how many clicks and in what direction you need to change the site to get this group center into the center of the target. So this is the information that is stored in the server, and the app later then on the field draws this information, and you just select which bow you are using, which arrows, and then you add some variable settings if required. Now switching to the app view. As you can see, we are still connected to our ringding. I'm going to users and configurations. Here is the list of currently added users. There is one special user, which is the owner of this device and the app, and that's me. Why do I know that? If I edit this configuration, there is a checkbox saying that's me. This is important because the arrows, as I told you, will be synchronized with the database on the server, your account on the server, and of course this is done with your data and your configurations. That's why it's important to tell the app, if in case there are several users on it, which one is the owner. Now here in the configurations section, this is where I set all the settings and configurations for the arrows to come. No surprise, here in the bow section I have access to exactly those bows that have been configured on the server and all the information behind those. There's a direct link to the server here in case you want to change something there, but that's actually not needed normally because all the variable parameters of the bow you might want to change during tuning from end to end are entered in the app anyhow, like brace height, knock point, tiller, draw weight, etc. Same with arrows. This is the arrow ACE I'm shooting, which I can select here. The diameter actually is also retrieved from the server because this is not a changeable figure and you cannot change it here. It's just for information. Tab, I can select my tab here. Sight settings. And here is also an important number, which is the distance from your eye to the sight pin. This is the second information that's needed apart from the screws in the side, that's needed to calculate how many clicks of rotation are needed to achieve a certain shift of the arrow grouping. Button and weather. Now, before you're actually going to shoot, this is the place where you select which target face you are shooting at. You can see you can select several. You can, of course, shoot at all four if you like. This is the letter you are choosing, and Ringding will finally use this selection to associate the arrows hitting target A to yourself, right? And you can enter the shooting direction. This is just for later analysis, like whether the sun or the angle of the sun has some influence, and you can enter some free text, just like World Archer Seminar or something, and you can later filter out all arrows having the word seminar in it. This is for filtering. Now that the variable parameters have been set, I press save. And now what happens is that this configuration data is transmitted to Ringding. Why? Because if a second device with the app is connecting to Ringding and draws the arrows and watching the arrows, then it is possible to see also what are the configuration data behind these arrows. The fact that configuration data are linked to arrows can best seen when looking at historical data. For example, on the analysis page in the app, I can select a certain day of arrow sessions. I can select the target I was shooting at, and then here press this button and retrieve again the configuration data that have been set before these arrows have been shot. So this is the configuration data belonging to all those displayed arrows. That's the reason why all configuration data are linked by linking to all arrows. So each arrow has got a mark saying to whom it belongs and which configuration data have been used when shooting this particular arrow. So in the last part of this tutorial, we come to the application of data analysis. What conclusions can we draw from all those recorded data? How can we see the effects in changes to the settings of the material or changes in the shooting style? This is actually a wide field. We have only started to explore the opportunities that data analysis brings to our sport. It would be worth having a seminar only on bow tuning using data analysis tools. And my belief is that exploring this field and developing it will bring a huge benefit to our sports. Let's start with the basic statistical figures. On the 9th of April, I have recorded a couple of ends, starting with a target of 40 centimeters, 2 ends shot on that target, then changed the target to a Las Vegas spot type of target and recorded ends 3 to 9. If you press on the configuration button, we can see that the distance was 18 meters. The basic numbers that are being presented below this analysis page is the single arrow values, the number of arrows, the number of points achieved, the points per arrow. This is the translation of the group center. You see here the group center is marked with a little cross, 1 centimeter to the right, and the translation 4 millimeter above the center of the target. Then there are some dispersion figures. I'll come to those later. The important point in analysis of data is the possibility to have many arrows. So very important is the possibility to overlay various ends. And only when you have grouped many arrows together, all this number get a statistical significance. For example, now the translation is 0.6 centimeters to the right, as you can see from the group center here, and 35 arrows displayed at the same time. 35 arrows is a good basis for sight hints. If we press this button, we can now read that our sight should be adjusted by 4 clicks to the right, and it should be adjusted by 3 clicks downwards. In order to support the archers in assessing the quality of their grouping of the arrows, Archery Analytics has developed a single figure called the Arrow Grouping Indicator, AGI. It's a value between 0 and 100. So 100 means that all arrows are sticking at the same coordinate. Of course, this is only possible if, for example, you shoot 3 arrows at 3 spots and each of the arrow is exactly at the same point in its respective spot. 0 means the arrows are scattered across the whole target. So you want to achieve a high number. It's actually calculated in a way so that it's independent on the shooting distance. In effect, it is a measure of the dispersion of the angles and not the coordinates in x and y direction. It's also only dependent on positions of the arrows relative to each other. So it is not a measure of whether the group center is at the center of the target. It's only dependent on how the arrows are in relation to each other. And just to give an indication, 95 plus is needed to have most of the arrows inside the goal. So if you have a look at our Las Vegas spot again, 35 arrows overlaid, you see here the AGI value is 92.5. So this is not really brilliant, and as you can see, not all of the arrows are inside the gold. But if we have a look at end number 6 only, this has got an AGI of 97.5, and this is, as you can see, well inside the gold. The AGI can be calculated of any group of arrows having at least 3 arrows, and the app always calculates this number and displays the corresponding scatter ellipse for all groups of arrow of that size. I've been using Ringding for my personal training, and I found that the arrow grouping indicator, the AGI, is the most useful statistical figure for tracking the development of your performance. Also for changes in the setting of the bow, many of those directly show up in a change in the AGI. The only thing you have to do is to shoot enough arrows, like 30 plus, and then overlay those so you have the statistical significance of the AGI value, and then every single and small change in what you are doing, like changing your stand, more open, more closed, will directly show up in this figure and tell you whether this was a good idea or not. Now we are going to have a look at the data capabilities on the data stored in the server. I'm already logged in. So here is my data section, and under data analysis we have got several possibilities. The day-by-day analysis is just the same that the app can do. You select a day and all arrows are displayed, and you can browse through the ends, overlay the ends, and read the basic statistical figures. So I don't repeat it now here. Activity and performance is an access to your data where you can choose the time slice. So starting from a date from to, I'll choose a certain day in July and leave the end open, meaning all arrows from 19th of July until today. There's a possibility to select arrows only for a specific target type, only for a specific distance, only using certain equipment. There are more filters, even like weather conditions or searching for a keyword. You know, we had this free text field to where I entered World Archery Seminar. You can now search for the word seminar and get only those arrows, and you can also filter by specific arrows if you have assigned IDs to your individual arrows. So the only filter setting I'm using now is the start date. I press the button Run Analysis. Takes a little time to retrieve all the arrows and analyze them, so there have been 521 arrows. The overall AGI of these arrows is 95.7. Here is on a timeline starting from the 19th of July until today, my activity, training activity. So these are individual days, and the red bars indicate how many arrows have been shot on that specific day. So it varies from 90 going down to 70 and going up to 120. And for all these arrows, there is calculated the AGI for all arrows of a day. So this is a real high significance of the AGI figure, and you can see there is a certain development going on, like achieving here a bit over 96, going down again, and at the end well above 96 is achieved, and also a high figure for the points per arrow figure, which is the scoring. So you can see from this analysis how your intensity of the training translates into achievements in terms of narrowness of the grouping and also scoring values. Then there is a section in the overview what targets you have shot in that respective time frame. For example, here there are some arrows shot on a 3-spot at 10 meters, some tests I assume. Then there are 60 arrows shot at the 3 spots at 18 meters, so inside the shooting hall, but most of the arrows have been shot on the compound spot at 50 meters. Actually, this is data from one of our friendly testers using Ringding to test everything out, and it's a compound spot archer. What you can see here from arrows, the number of arrows is 453, and this is the scatter ellipse of all those arrows. You can see that the sight is not optimally centered yet, so this is an indication that this can be improved, and the dispersion of all those arrows is almost equal in all directions. It's slightly in the 2 o'clock direction. There is a bit more dispersion compared to 10 o'clock direction. So you can try to find out why is that. The next analysis we are going to have a look at is of type comparative data analysis. The filter section is the same as before, and I choose the same arrows starting from 19th of July. But now I want to focus on the vertical 3 spot and shot at 18 meters. Now here I can select a type of analysis. There is one called spot analysis, and this is what I want to do. Running the data analysis gives us the result. You see 3 scatter ellipses, 1 for each of the spots. So all arrows are grouped now by spot, the upper, the middle and the lower. And as you can see, the middle spot has got a completely different scatter ellipse compared to the upper and the lower. Those are more or less identical and also have the same group center, and they show a higher dispersion in the horizontal direction. The middle spot is completely different. The main dispersion is in the direction of 2 o'clock, and the center of the group is also lower. I know that this archer always shoots the first arrow into the middle spot, then upper, then lower. And there is some reason why he loses his points on the middle spot. From the angle of the ellipsis, we can draw the conclusion that this is a problem in releasing the arrow. Other analysis includes, for example, the AGI versus shooting distance analysis. It is possible to draw important conclusions if the AGI varies with the shooting distance. So you would do a specific test, shoot 30 arrows at 18 meters, increase the distance, shoot another 30 arrows, and so on, and then see in what direction the AGI changes and how the scatter ellipsis behaves. It's possible to identify certain faults in the shooting style when looking at these figures. I have written a white paper on this topic that is available for download here in the support section, white paper on data analysis. I recommend to read that paper and also provide feedback to me. I have written all my ideas into that paper, what I think, what conclusions can be drawn from certain patterns of arrows and how they relate to faults in the shooting style, how bow tuning is done using data analysis, and many more. So your feedback on that paper is very much appreciated.
So that's the end of our webinar on ringing. I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe you can use ringing also for your training or coaching sessions, and we are happy to support you in case you have any suggestions how we can improve the system or extend the data analysis capabilities. You're always welcome. Just email me and get in contact. Have a nice day.
Excellent stuff, Jochen. Thank you very much. Well, that's it for this morning's session. So it's time for lunch. You should have been sent the link for this afternoon's session. So enjoy your break and see you in a little while.